We have Diane here from Interfaith Neighbors, and we have Patrick here. We're going to talk about what we talked about last week. We're going to run through it, and then we're going to talk about some new stuff. So, Diane, you want to talk about what we went over last week?
Yeah, first of all, we want to thank you on behalf of Interfaith Neighbors for having us back and for this benefit to the fans. Last week we talked a little bit about some of the programs. Kula Cafe, we talked about Kula Urban Farms, we talked about rental and mortgage assistance, which handles the pandemic emergency relief fund.
Of course.
We spoke about Meals on Wheels, senior nutrition and Meals on Wheels, and SOAR, and the SOAR program. So I thought it would be fitting, and I'm glad you invited Patrick, who handles the affordable housing.
Affordable housing, yeah, of course.
Revitalization. Yeah. And he's the Interfaith real estate director.
I saw that you guys just received maybe a new grant or something. I saw that online. You want to tell us a little more about that?
Well, I think the grant, the article that you saw had to do with the neighborhood revitalization tax credit investment that New Jersey American Water made in the West Side program. Interfaith, back in 2006, was one of the first organizations in the state to submit a neighborhood plan under the Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit Program. And basically what that program does is bring corporate investments where corporations get to choose a distressed neighborhood around the state to invest in, and they get a dollar for dollar credit against their business tax obligation for that investment. Interfaith was one of the first organizations to have a plan for a neighborhood to attract those investments. They're required to have a revitalization plan submitted either by a municipality or a nonprofit.
Yeah, and so continue.
Interfaith did a plan for the west side of Asbury Park, and we've been working under that program ever since.
That's amazing. You know, we're so happy to see music coming to the west side with Springwood Park, with the Asbury Park Music Foundation, but also new redevelopment plans. Do you know, can you provide any insight what those redevelopment plans are?
Well, we have actually now finished 12 years of NRTC programs on the west side. They involve affordable housing development. It was NRTC funds in large part, or in great part, that helped to develop the Springwood Center building.
Of course.
Where the Asbury Park Senior Center is, the Kula Cafe, police substation, and we have 8 units of affordable rental housing on the 3rd floor of that building. So it's really covered a wide range of things. And I just submitted an application last week, for the 10th project that we'll do with NRTC funds. And if you're successful in the applications, those projects can bring close to $1 million of investment into the neighborhood. So we have in our plan, as I mentioned, developed affordable housing and some other programs. We've also supported quite a few other agencies, Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Of course, yeah.
The Boys and Girls Club, Community Affairs and Resource Center, to name a few. Coastal Habitat for Humanity, for example.
So it's great, you know, not only to be a nonprofit, but working as a community with the rest of the nonprofits in town, like you said, Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Yes.
I think you guys have done some work with the Asbury Park Music Foundation. Just being, you know, a big community, it doesn't matter who you're supporting or what you're supporting, it's working together to support somebody or to support something.
Yes, you mentioned the music in the park.
Yeah, the Springwood Park, of course.
Our part in that process was to provide NRTC funds.
Yeah.
So that has been a major part of the sponsorship. You know, people don't realize you put on 10 free concerts in the park with some fabulously talented musicians. It takes money to do that.
Obviously, yeah.
To be paid, the sound
the crew,
all of that.
Yeah. And there's facilities there also.
Yes, and you know, of all the things we've done in the 12 years now that we've been running NRTC programs, we've just finished our 5th year of those Monday Musics in the Park.
Yeah.
And I have always thought that was the best community building enterprise or effort that we have done under NRTC.
Yeah, I've played, I've performed there, and I've worked there, and I've done some volunteer work with the Asbury Park Music Foundation, and just looking out into the crowd, seeing people from all over town, from all over the shore, they're supporting, you know, whether it's pop music, whether it's rock music, whether it's country music, everybody's coming together. It's building a real sense of community over there. Springwood Park.
Well, when the park opened in 2016 and we first proposed with the Music Foundation to run this series of concerts, there was a great deal of concern about security.
Yeah.
There hadn't been live music on the west side in decades.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there was a pretty decent piece of the budget the first year that was set aside for security. We didn't have a single incident.
I see
Trouble.
people
that is
dancing
still
with the police
true
officers.
5 years out, not
Yeah.
a single incident in all 5 years. And yes, you're right. I don't recall off the top of my head the officer's name, but one officer, the one year that he was assigned to the concerts, he became pretty well known.
Yeah, he was dancing with everybody. He was enjoying it.
To see people interact with the police in that way, as opposed to take the position interaction, it's wonderful. And, you know, one of the objectives for the Music Foundation and for Interfaith in this program was to try to bring the two sides of town together.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that the Monday music concerts have been the best community building, because it certainly did that. You mentioned it yourself. It's not just West Side residents, but they are well represented.
Yeah.
But it's East Side residents, and it's residents from surrounding shore communities.
Everybody's coming together.
The West Side, where 6 years ago people said nobody will come to the West Side for music, but it's one of the magic things about music. It brings people together.
Yeah.
And as I said, we've had good crowds. It's really, that program has gotten a good following, and in 5 years, not one single incident, not an argument that I can remember. I think the most serious probably had a lady lost her cell phone one night, and it was found. So,
You know, like you said, music is a universal language. It knows no boundaries. It connects everybody across the globe, across the tracks, across the globe.
absolutely true. It's been wonderful, yes.
And I remember learning, I wasn't alive throughout the riots, but learning about them in the Riot Redemption rock and roll film that came out a few years ago. And my parents lived through it, and they tell me stories. And, you know, they say, you know, if my grandparents who, you know, only knew Asbury Park as what it was 10, 15 years ago could see the way it is now. You know, I even know people from across the pond in Europe that come back to Asbury Park. And the last time I was here was 20 years. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's part to, you know, these affordable housing and, you know, all the revitalization that Interfaith Neighbors is supporting on that side of the tracks.
Yes, it's you know, the NRTC program has been great. It's allowed us to support many other agencies in the specific work they do.
Yeah.
It's a way to bring resources to the West Side. It's just been a very successful program. Off of that, we have built, you know, and further developed our affordable housing program. I think last week, sorry, I keep pulling.
No, yeah.
These masks are so annoying. You know.
Everybody in the venue tonight's wearing masks. We have sanitizer. We're cleaning everything.
It's absolutely the way it has to be, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make them any less annoying. But you know, I think Diane gave a background last week about Interfaith. We started in 1988.
Yeah.
32 years now. Started with rental assistance to help working poor families stave off homelessness. What grew out of that was our involvement with the county, with their senior meal program.
Of course.
We've been running the senior meal program now for 30 years, and we put out about 1,400 meals a day out of our
Wow.
facility on 4th Avenue, and they're distributed around the county to shut-ins and to other senior centers and the like. But starting in 1988, with some seed money from the New Jersey Natural Gas Company, we wanted to further address high cost of housing and the problem of homelessness,
Yeah.
and we got involved with affordable housing. And we have gotten affordable housing construction subsidies since that time from Monmouth County. It's federal money that comes through the home housing production program.
Yeah.
We've had a very good working relationship with the Monmouth County Redevelopment Office.
Yeah.
We've now produced 54 units of affordable housing since we started. Most of that's on the west side, some in Neptune, one house in Long Branch. It's been very successful. Our focus in affordable housing has been on home ownership.
Yeah.
And we have, again,
For long term.
focused, the long term on our west side neighborhood. When I started 14 years ago, the ratio of owner-occupied to non-owner-occupied was really upside down. It's still rather upside down from what you want, but it was 88% of the homes on the west side at that point were non-owner occupied. So you had renters.
Yeah.
It's always been our belief that, and studies in many other places have borne this out, one of the things that helps make a neighborhood stable is when people own the homes they're living in.
Of course.
So that's been our focus.
They're planting the seeds in the community for long term.
Yes, I mean, and in those 14 years, we've made some progress. The last statistics I've seen, which were a little dated now, but I think it was 74% of the
It's getting
homes
better.
were non-owner occupied. Yes, trending in the right direction.
Yes.
Still upside down from
Yes,
what you like.
but it's making progress.
But it's making progress. And even more important, the impact that affordable housing can have on families when they own the home. I've just, the home program has depending on the amount of construction subsidy, it's a 15 or 20-year affordability period.
Yeah.
And what that means is there are restrictions on the resale, who it can be sold to. It has to be another family that meets the same income guidelines that the original purchaser had, and how much depends on how long they've been there. But when that affordability period ends, and just in the last month, I have gotten the first releases back from the county.
Yeah.
That now when I send these letters to these homeowners, I'm essentially saying to them, you no longer have an affordable home. Those income restrictions, you've stayed in your home 15 or in some cases 20 years now. Those income restrictions are vacated. The affordable period is over. You now own a market rate home and you can sell it like anybody else can sell their house on their market, or you can stay there and but the equity buildup transforms families that have been struggling with low-paying jobs, just trying to make ends meet. Now they have an investment.
Yeah, of course.
And over time.
And you helped them
that
get there.
investment pays. Well,
The organization helped them get there.
The organization did, yes. And I will tell you, I'm an attorney by training.
Yeah.
I lived and worked in North Carolina for many years and did several thousand closings.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved back to New Jersey when my dad got sick, and through a series of connections, I got involved in affordable housing. The first affordable housing closing I went to was the first time somebody at a closing had hugged me, and the lady said to me, "You have changed our family's life." And I didn't do much, but your
That's powerful,
organizations do. And it's something I never forget. Those words ring. So, our executive director, Paul McKevitt, likes to say that one of the great things about working at Interfaith is every day you come to work, you have the opportunity to help somebody.
Absolutely.
And you do. And it's, like anything, there's days where work's frustrating. It's just, just the way things go. But there are many opportunities where you really know you have an impact on people's lives, and it's hard to put a price on that.
And that's why we're happy to be here tonight, to help support you guys, to help support Interfaith Neighbors with the power of music, especially, through these tough COVID times.
Yes, well, we very much appreciate your support.
Of course.
It's needed. It's needed to just carry on the work we do.
Yeah, and it's putting some great local bands on stage too, so it's a whole big circle, and we're helping a lot of people.
Good.
Talking about affordable housing, and Patrick, you speak about how we collaborate with others. Covenant House, the two.
Oh, yes, well, one of the things now that we have been able to accomplish, we built 2 facilities on Prospect Avenue. I can't see with this, but glasses are fogging up. No, we built 2 facilities. One of the problems that we saw for many of the young people on the west side is that they had very unstable housing.
Yeah.
One of the things, among the many problems that can lead to, is kids get recruited into gangs. They don't have a place, so they get brought into that family and go down that track, and that's not a good thing. Working with Covenant House, New Jersey, they have a program that they have run in other parts of the state called Rites of Passage.
Okay.
And in our previous work with them, we had kids that needed help, and they were, brought into a program and sent to one of their facilities, either in Atlantic City or Newark. Well, that just didn't work for kids from Asbury. They were now in a strange place, and while their housing might have been more stable, they're away from home.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, long story short, we have now built 2 facilities next to one another on Prospect Avenue. We bought a large lot. We were able to acquire it at a decent price. We subdivided it. Now we've built 2 facilities, one for young men and one for young women. That's part of this Rites of Passage program. And it's a transitional housing program. Helps get those young people on their feet, give them a stable place to live.
Yeah.
Gives them training in how to manage money, open a bank account, how to live independently.
Of course.
Is the goal. And they work while they're there, and there's some money put aside to help them get on their feet when they're ready to transition out. But those two facilities have been very successful, and the feedback I get from the young residents that are there is that this is just giving them an opportunity to get their act together.
Yeah, so you're giving them a place to sleep and to relax, but also you're teaching them how to live, how to construct a great life.
That's right. The facilities are staffed 24/7.
Yeah.
There's always somebody there to supervise. They offer, as I said, classes on managing your money, how to, some simple things that you take for granted, but if nobody ever showed you how,
You want to know what to do. Yeah.
So that's been a very successful program. And then the facility that we just completed this fall, and just in July got a CO, is a two-family house on Borden Avenue that we call our Pathway to Home Ownership. Mm-hmm. And that actually is a rental property, but the target tenants, and we've now identified our first two tenants for the facility, are people who are interested and intent on becoming homeowners.
Yeah.
And this is a path, the Pathway to Home Ownership program allows them to move in on a short-term basis. We charge them a little below market rent, but we escrow half of their monthly rent to put into a fund for a down payment.
Yeah.
And in the process of them being there in a year or so, if they need credit repair work, if they need their first-time home buyer counseling, they get that while they're there. But the biggest obstacle for many low and mod families is to accumulate the down payment, and that's what this program allows them to do.
That's great. It's great to see everything moving to the west side. It's all Asbury Park.
All Asbury Park.
It's not west side, it's not east side, it's not, Shore and other side, it's all Asbury Park.
Well, the challenge there now, though, is that, for the west side where nobody wanted to focus their attention or invest, over many years, and it suffered from that, is now because the market is so strong, the challenge on the west side is the potential for gentrification.
Yeah.
And that kind of cuts both ways. It makes the neighborhood nicer, it brings things up, but it's a challenge for the people who have long been there trying to be able to stay. So it's not without its challenges, but we're working.
We're making great progress.